Hello, everyone. It is Kenyon here. It is Basketball Rewind, and I am joined by the man that they call Mac and Curly. Live by the Three is Curly's podcast. Right now, we're not doing that, by the way. For I'm sorry. I'm keeping this in, people. For Mac, it's running off the screen. As I've said before, these two have been on my on the show on Basketball Rewind, of course. But you go listen to them. Go give them a shout. I will leave their information in the description below. Definitely give them a follow. It's worthwhile. Let's just jump into it. Before we get to Raptors news, I want to cover one quick thing, which is the James Harden trade, and then we can get to the fun that is the Raptors this year. First and foremost, it happened. James Harden finally left the building. He is no longer with Nick Nurse. Also, Danny Green got cut.
Guy got to catch a break.
He signed like yesterday too. Last time I remember. Grand opening, grand closing.
This guy's just trying to hoop, and he just keeps getting cut.
Back to ESPN. Just wondering, what are your thoughts on the Harden trade?
You can start off, Mac.
Oh, well, it's about time, and not because I wanted the Clippers to get him. I just wanted the rumors to stop. And what the Sixers got for him was exactly what we expected. At least what I expected. I thought they were going to look for expiring contracts, look for a little bit of draft capital, get some veterans that can come in and complement what they have with Maxey and Embiid, or what they're trying to build with those two. You know, Batum, it's an underrated pickup. I think somebody like Batum is a good glue piece that Nick Nurse can utilize and play his little Vision 6-9 lineups. You got Kenyon Martin Jr. in there as well, athletic wing. I think it works out well for the Sixers. I think that's the best thing they could have got, considering Harden ruined the leverage that the Sixers would have had just by saying, "Hey, I'm going to the Clippers, or we're going to have some problems."
Yeah, I mean, he started off making problems. So that's for darn sure. What a mess. Curly, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm echoing the same sentiment. I'm glad it's over. It seemed like whatever was promised to James was not achieved, obviously, or was not kept. Whatever promises were kept to him. It seemed like he took a pay cut in order for them to have extra salary cap space to sign some other players, which particularly PJ Tucker, which is funny that now they're both gone in the deal. I found that very entertaining. But yeah, no, he tanked any trade value he had or any leverage that the Sixers had, and got the package that I was expecting as well, with some draft picks and a pick swap. I think it's better for the Sixers that they now have added depth on this team and some veteran experience. I think they could benefit from. I think Batum, Covington, and Morris is all players that can contribute right away. We all know how Nick Nurse loves his veterans, so there you go. You get 3 more extra ones, and you lose your favorite veteran in Danny Green in the process. And KJ Martin, you don't know what he's going to be, so that's an exciting prospect for them. But in terms of the Clippers, I think you have no choice but to go all in. You've been going all in all year, or all, since you got Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. You've been trying to stack that team. This is the best opportunity you have. It's really health dependent, but I think we've seen the success when Paul George and Kawhi is on the court. We've seen the success with Westbrook and Harden together in Houston. I really feel like those relationships are going to play well for the Clippers, but I think it's going to take one injury for all of that to be collapsing. But I'm excited to see they have a good top 7, and let's see if that's enough. But we've seen what super teams look like. We've seen the lack of success from them. So best of luck to the Clippers.
I think those are good points. Also OKC. So they those two have been together for some time. And it feels good that they are, reunited. So, so with that being said, best of luck. I agree. I thought one final thing that I wanted to talk about, which I found funny, was Korkmaz seemed to want out, and the Clippers staff said no, and the Sixers staff said no. He had his bags packed, and they were like, "Nah, you ain't going nowhere." So I thought that was funny. Just a little small tidbit.
That guy's been held hostage for so long.
Yeah, blink if you're okay, right?
I didn't even know that was a talking point, man. That's rough.
I've never heard that before. It's just like, hey, listen, I heard you trade. Can I go too? Is there space on the plane? Has
It's
the
like
plane
that
left?
meme. It's like that meme where the guy's like, "Who wants me?" and like it's 100% no.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not even like Dumb and Dumber where so I have a chance. It's,
Yeah.
So, we needed this podcast, by the way. I will say this before we start anything. It's been an interesting week in Raptors land. So, let's start it off. We don't have to go through a whole big, recap of it, but how are you feeling? What is the temperature gauge? Do you have to reset the temperature? Temperature's not doing so good. I don't know. Vibes check is what the kids are saying these days. How are you feeling, each of you?
Well, I'll take this one, Max, since I let you go first the first time. Honestly, they're exactly where I thought they'd be. I'm not too high. I'm not too low. I knew this team had some limitations. I think the only thing that we knew was going to be different was the bench was going to be a little bit better, at least on paper. It hasn't really translated onto the court as yet, but they have a lot of interesting pieces. I mean, Jalen McDaniels is underperforming. To my surprise, I really felt that he was going to come out with a little bit more, oomph, so to speak. Grady continues to improve slowly but surely. But it's the veterans that have been on this team to an extent. Otto hasn't seen the floor yet. Boucher had one good game, has been inconsistent in the last two. Precious, I'm not going to say he's a veteran, but he's been inconsistent as well. Malachi has been getting a lot of run, and you can take it or leave it. It just seems like a lot of the problems that the Raptors are having right now is roster construction, and I don't see that much of a difference other than the bench being slightly better than what it was last year. We had a great starting five, but then the bench, there's all these question marks. And I knew that there was a lot of variables surrounding this team, and I know that Masai's eagerness to see this vision through, to see these group of guys through, with his reluctance to trade them when there are great players available, shot creating guards, shot creating forwards that we can greatly benefit from in a half court offense that
Is there
is
anyone that you
struggling.
have in mind that might have been traded? I'm just curious.
Well, Dame was one, KD was one, Donovan Mitchell, Shea was on the table. Like, take your
Oh,
pick.
okay. I just wanted to double check.
Okay, well, I appreciate you opening up old wounds, but it's very interesting to see that everything that we've been talking about up until this point is coming out into early going. But at the same time, too, it's early. There are going to be some growing pains. We've seen some growing pains with Coach Darko with some player management issues. We're seeing we're seeing off nights by our best player in Pascal Siakam. Him taking 8 shots in one game is, a huge disservice to him. OG in and out of lineup. So you can go down the line. And I think we've all said this in various ways, is that a lot of things have to go right for this team to be successful. And it seems like Masai is gambling on every one of those variables to hit. And we're seeing the growing pains from it. But to make a long-winded answer short, my temperature check is fine. I didn't expect them to come out guns blazing. I did not buy the preseason hype. I always thought they were going to be more fun going into this season. And for the most part, when things are clicking, they are fun. But when things are bad, they're bad, and it's to be expected with the way that this roster still has some limitations, and they're clearly working through them.
And before Matt goes, I'm going to ask: did you put your phone down this summer? Uh,
I should have just threw my phone out my car. I had it on Twitter. I'm burning data every day, waiting for something good to happen for these guys, and it's just been such a letdown. And that's not to say that we don't have good players, and not to say that we don't have interesting players and interesting storylines, but it's like these guys need help, they need support, and it seems like unless Scotty Barnes becomes an all-star, unless OG becomes this shot creating forward, unless Pascal can hit threes, unless Grady hits, and as we go on and on and on, unless all those things happen, it's going to be a struggle. And we're seeing the early parts of that struggle.
Mac, your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm right in the same area as Curly as far as the temperature check. It's not too cold, not too hot. It is warming up, but it's at a point where I'm not surprised anymore. I'm not surprised with this team. What one thing that is bothering me though is the play of Jakob Poeltl. I think he looks a little bit lethargic. I think he looks like he's a half a step too slow against other bigs. And his primary role with this type of construction, like the way we're constructed, he needs to grab those rebounds. He needs to be a force in the paint, offensively, defensively. It has to be like he can't have an off night in those regards. Maybe he won't score 10 points, but he needs to get you at least 10 boards a game with how we're built. There's nobody built like him on our team, so he needs to carry the load in that regard. Backup guard play is another thing that is really, again, we're used to it. It's been like that every day, or every year. I think that's an area that's really annoying because yes, Malachi hasn't really got a shot per se, but it seems like the times that he has got a little glimpse of hope as far as minutes, he kind of, I don't want to say this, I don't want to be too harsh, but he kind of throws it away in a sense, because he'll make like a little bit of a mistake here, a key mistake here, and then it just starts compiling up. It starts to build to the point that we're like, okay, what are we getting from you? Why are we giving you minutes? Let's just put Scotty back on. Let's get these guys 38 to 40 minutes a game. And it just ends up being the same thing over and over again. I said it in my episode. I feel like, I don't know if we're doing this, like maybe it's a politics thing, but I feel like, why did Jeff Doughton not make this team?
I think I have the answer for that. It's the same reason that before yesterday, or I guess when this comes out, it'll be before the Portland game. Why the same reason that Precious Achiuwa had more shots than Pascal Siakam, and him and Malachi before the Portland game had higher usage rate than Pascal Siakam. I think that is wild. And it's also the same reason why any coach in their right mind, in my opinion, and I think that this coach is a smart coach, so you can people can take this as they will. I've never heard a coach say that Precious Achiuwa would be a passing hub of any offense. I think even his greatest supporters would be shocked if you heard that. I even joked that he might have pulled his groin making a pass, doing some sort of movement that he's never done before. Honestly.
Well, I will give him credit. He is passing a little bit more this season.
That's true. That's
right?
true.
But when he said that, I'm like, Precious passes?
I mean, I noticed, I mean, him as a decision maker, right? Like, I saw, this is during the Bulls game, and he's inbounding the ball, but he's on the court. And it's like, wait a minute. And so he's like, no,
yeah.
Out of
Scotty's like,
pass me the ball. Like, that, not yet, son.
He's playing house league rules in the NBA.
Yeah, exactly.
For real.
He's ready for the fast break, so that's good.
Yeah.
He's pushing the pace.
Yeah.
So I think that there is something that needs to shift, because I don't know if this is I don't know if this is sustainable in this way. I agree with you guys that I wasn't expecting them to be world beaters, but the way that I see it, it's like even without making drastic changes, like you can't, like, even just like don't put an all bench lineup out. Um, like we just don't put a all bench lineup out. You can't have, and I'll even defend Jalen McDaniels a tiny bit. It's like, if what are you asking him to do? He's supposed to really be kind of like almost like an OG role where it's spot up from three in the corners, but he's doing a little bit more. Like everyone seems to be trying. Like this seems to be a democracy, and I've never seen an NBA offense as a democracy. Even the Spurs.
We were talking a little bit offline, and Curly made the point of why he suspected Schroeder was supposed to come off the bench, right? And I think that's to like keep the bench glued together, right? But at the same time, what also happens in that same move, it gives Gary the opportunity to start because he's been way more productive with the starters, guys who can create openings for him, and he spaces out the floor for them as well. So it's kind of both sides of that coin work in that regard. So I'm pretty sure within the next week or so we're going to see that swap come about, and hopefully it works for the better because I don't think Malachi can get big minutes anymore. I'm so sorry. It's his fourth year. You know what I mean?
It's not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Like Kenyon alluded to, right? It's to me. I've always felt like the Raptors really complicate simple problems. And that is exactly what you're seeing right there. And to Mac's point, you're seeing them kind of testing the waters. Like there was a game, I believe either the Minnesota game or possibly the Chicago game. I want to say the Chicago game where Dennis was pulled after like the first 4 minutes of that quarter, and then Gary went in when he was struggling, and then Gary kind of went off a little bit there. So you see it, and for me, it's always been put your best starting five. Now you can make an argument that who's better between Dennis and Gary. Both of them offer different things, but what are you struggling most with? It's spacing. Now, granted, Dennis has been hitting the three, but they're leaving him open for the most part. So it's like, okay, you know what? Being a 32% shooter or 34% shooter on your career, we're gonna take our chances and leave you open. And he's been hitting them, but is that sustainable? Do I want Dennis Schroeder to be my release valve and a bailout option from the 3-point line? No, not necessarily. Would I live with either Gary or OG shooting that shot? Absolutely. But I think we all talked about it. Spacing. Dennis, Scotty, Pascal, Jakob is existing in the same space. So that leaves a small little space for OG to operate. And we saw it with the Bulls. We saw it a bit with Portland. As soon as they get back on defense and they either go zone or they go man and they force them on the perimeter, you see them struggling to establish something in the paint. And what's so interesting, and I want to know your thoughts on this, guys, is that we shot very well in the paint, didn't shoot well from three, but we still won the game. Then we shot well from three and okay from the paint, and we didn't win that game. And then we shot well in the paint, didn't shoot well from three, and we didn't win that game either. So I really feel that they're struggling with an identity right now. And one of the major issues is role definition. I don't think it's clear. It's success by community, and we saw this recipe before. Alan Nick Nurse, and he's coaching another team. So there needs to be a shift. It's just how long are they willing to wait until that shift happens?
I'll go really quickly and just say it's hard to establish that shift when you start off the year talking about selfishness.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
Like of any player, to be honest, right? Like if it's behind you, then leave it in the past. Don't even talk about it. But like to bring that up for both the coach as well as, the general manager or president of basketball, whatever his role is, vice chairman, viceroy, whatever. At this point, you can't be saying that sort of thing and then not expect that to linger like a cloud over the team. I mean, you have to feel a little bit bad for Siakam because, to the coach's point, the coach is saying, well, he's doing what we're asking him to. Okay. But you're asking him to be a volume shooter. from deep. I mean, if you look at the Portland game, you take out the 6 threes that he took. He was 0 for 6. He was shooting the ball decently well before then. But you take that out, he shot 9 of 15. That's a good game. Every time he went to the post, every time he went to his spots, it wasn't perfect because 9 of 15 isn't 100%. But it was good offense. It's even the same with Scotty Barnes. We're not necessarily getting to Scotty Barnes' best places on the court. He's producing. I agree with that. But at the same time, it's like you have someone where you told them like, well, like it's like they put one of the players in a lose-lose situation where if he starts calling his number, then he's too selfish. If he doesn't call his number, then it's like, well, he's not man enough. Like
he's not a dog per se.
Yeah, right? he's not a dog. Exactly.
Shout out Pat Bev.
Man. Pat Bev.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wanted to talk a little bit on Curly saying about the spacing with Gary in the lineup and Schroeder taking more threes. I think it's his career high 3-point attempts. I think 40% of his shots this year so far are from the 3-point line. But also so he is creating some spacing, but at the same time, the other things he's good at will help that bench unit. But yeah, I don't know, man. I think this team is putting on that. You know that meme I'm talking about a lot of memes this episode, but you know that meme where there's like an angry face and then there's like a mask in front of it and it's happy, and you're like kind of hiding what's going on. I feel like that's what this team is doing. They're saying all the right things, but there's something boiling behind them saying like, this is not going to work. What are we doing here? And I don't know when that's going to shift. I don't know when it's going to change, but this roster needs to change. I don't, you say 0.5 this, 0.5 that, but in that type of offense, you need players that can do multiple things. For one, you can't force them to do something they're not comfortable with, and you can't do it without staggering your bench with the starters. So there's some type of escape valve in late game situations. I like you guys were mentioning with Pascal not having high usage. It's like, well, can you make the 0.5 end with him taking a shot, or can you make it that he goes downhill at the end of these sequences and actions? Can we do that instead of just finding an open guy who's 0 for 6 on the night from 3? Like, those type of things need to be said and need to be done for us to win some games. At the end of the day, development is it's the key of this season, development. But at the same time, we need to win games. We got to see what this team is.
I want to piggyback on that point. Sorry, Kenyon. I think development is great, but I think you have an idea as to what certain players are already. I think Malachi is who he is. I think Boucher is who he is. I think there's question marks. There's a lot of potential with Precious Achiuwa. Christian Koloko is not in the mix right now. So I think the guys that they really want to see develop, they need to be put in a position to be successful. But like to Mac's point, all these players have limitations, and the limitations is what we need these guys to get better at. But asking a player to shot create when they're not a great shot creator is unrealistic. Asking a guy that is a career low 30% shooter to take high volume threes because we ain't got nothing else going on the half court is not an asset you should really be looking into. Asking your best player, your all NBA player, your all-star, your most improved player, your best player on your team to take the back seat because you want to see these guys develop. You have these guys in contract years and they are struggling. You are literally crippling their opportunity to create more generational wealth. And that's what they're trying to accomplish. OG wants a bigger role. He wants to get more touches. And we're seeing him being a hybrid OG of old and new. We saw what he looked like with an inbound play, fading, taking that mid-range shot. We saw him getting out in transition a whole lot more, making his defense feed his offense. And then we see him try to dribble right down the middle in the middle of a zone and turn over the ball and tumble out. Some things that we've grown accustomed to. And it's like there's so many things happening at the same time. And it's like like to Mac's point, you eventually want to see them win, and it's great to develop players, but one of the key things in developing is establishing confidence. And it seems like with every game goes by, and with every bad loss that's is been taking place, that confidence is taking the hit. So you can develop all you want, but if you're not putting them in the right position to be successful, if you're not staggering them with starters that can, unlock their abilities and not be relied upon solely to make something out of nothing, at least you're staggering with Scotty or with a Pascal or at least with Dennis, you can accomplish those things. But it's an identity crisis. I know I'm repeating myself, but it's an identity crisis. They don't know what they're trying to do. They don't know what they're trying to accomplish. And it's just like, go out there and let's see what happens kind of thing. And then we'll make adjustments along the way. But when you got 3 guys in a contract year, potentially 4, it's not a recipe for success right now. Developing.
And also, sorry, I wanted to say quick before you go, Kenyon. It's not about the losses per se, too. It's how we're losing. It would be one thing if it was all competitive and a team hits a lucky shot or a guy's on fire and then we just cannot like douse the flame. We're getting beat on little things, the little things that make playoff teams and competitive teams and contenders. Like the little things is what's killing us, and that's what's annoying. Things that we can control is what's destroying us.
Yeah, I mean, my main thing that I have to talk about with regards to what we just discussed is the 0.5 offense. I thought it was 0.5 offense, not wait 20 seconds to then do hot potato. You know what I mean? Like if you're going to be quick decision making, then get into the sets faster. You know, sometimes they're feeding Pascal. And it's like 5 seconds left. Go create something, Pascal. Go. Now's your turn, right? Like that's not right. It's not right for him. It's not right for anyone who gets it in the last 5 seconds. You need to be able to execute faster. And again, if it's just, a mismatch hunting thing, then I think we can identify the mismatches before 20 seconds gets to the thing. Like, there's a level of competency on the court that you would expect out of a rebuilding team. Like, I'm talking like early Sam Hinkie years rebuilding, right? We're not a young team if with Garrett Temple, with Thad Young, with like we're the 7th oldest team in the NBA. And this is how you're executing. And I'm not going to be quite as generous and charitable as you guys. Precious Achua and Malachi Flynn have been around in the NBA. This is their 4th year. They also need to be better. So it's and I'm happy that Scotty is doing well. I do think that the handle still needs work. I keep saying that. I do think that he is giving effort and energy every game, all game, and that alone will propel him to new heights. But we're not winning. We're not winning.
Yeah. No, it is, and you know what? You want to see that from Scotty, and you love that he's established himself early on in the season. But it's who else? Who else is gonna step it up? Because he has stepped up. He's done everything he humanly can. He's playing on the low block. Looking like a defensive player of the year candidate, and to me, to put it simply, Scotty and Pascal should be the run initiating offenses. Period. That's what it really is.
I was mad the other game at Scotty and then I had to change because this was, I believe it was against Philly, and I get it. It's Embiid, but still, because similar things happened the next game against Ayton, and Ayton ain't no Embiid. Okay. And I'm like, why is he frantically doubling when there's Pirtle? And then I'm like, oh, because Pirtle can't eat. Pirtle's getting the business. And like third game in a row, second game in a row. And it's like, man. And I'm like, so I did predict before the season started, not with you guys, but with Beyond and Coach. And I said, I expect Scotty to take a step forward defensively. And he's definitely 100% done that.
And then some, right?
Yeah.
And then some, man. Like
Jinx.
he looks. Oh, he was so done. But but no, it's been great, and it's like, okay, you have Jakob, and then you now have Scotty into the mix, and it's like, how are we still allowing all this penetration happening? Like it's so bizarre, and let's call it what it is. And I know we've been kind of been doom and gloom. There's been a lot of bright spots. I mean,
Grady.
Right? Brady has been coming into his zone, and I really hope it's a tweak in philosophy in terms of the type of players that we draft. Like we've drafted a type, athletic, long. Hopefully Grady's success is like, please let it be a trend of drafting some offensive minded players. But at the end of the day, we have a great starting five. We should not be struggling as much as we do. And you know what? Say what you want about Nick Nurse, but he got the best out of that starting five. It came at a price. It came along with injuries and not being fully healthy at the playoffs. But when it came to the regular season, those guys were put in a position to be successful to an extent. It was the rest of the team that struggled with that. But at least you maximize that starting five. And I really feel like we've hit the mark. We missed the mark. Sorry, we missed the mark with this, at least in the early parts of the season. But it is still early. But at what point do you kind of tweak the focus? You know what I mean? Like, you have to put these guys in a position to be successful. You have to be able to put them to play to their strength. And it just seems like they're sacrificing the wrong things right now. You know what I mean?
So I have two questions for you, but I'm gonna preface it with a little bit of information. So we know that I'm gonna just assume maybe they were too cheap to be able to afford the WNBA franchise, but they are spending $350 million on renovations, and they did keep this in mind. They did increase ticket prices, which, by the way, we didn't sell out for the Portland game. That's big trouble. They got to pay for those renovations somehow, because it ain't all going to come from Rogers just because he can afford it. So I don't see them going into a rebuild this year. My question, and obviously, yes, they share a building with the Leafs and stuff like that, and the Leafs will continue to sell out, but it is also on the Raptors too. So my question to you guys is, with the caveat that you cannot rebuild it, how, like, I guess my first question is, how many losses? Because I mean, the schedule looks. I look at the schedule. I'm like, man, it's gonna be rough until like
it's a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet.
It's like every. I don't know if you guys have seen the Vice thing where the guy's getting jumped into a gang and fight back. It's like it's like that, and the guy's just his head's bobbing every. I'm good.
Mac. Remember when I said the first 10 games of the season is gonna really tell you a lot about this team? You remember I told you that?
Yeah. Man, 10 games. Yeah. I don't. It's like we're at game 5. We're at game 5.
It took 2 games for me to be like, oh no.
But yeah. So my question is, like how many games would like at this current pace, assuming that we're stuck in we're doing this and we're gonna see it through until I get fired. How many games does it take before something shifts? And then the second question is, how would you guys fix it, with the caveat that you cannot go into a full rebuild? Because on top of what I just said, you also ideally would like to convey your pick and just have that out of the way. We don't even have a second rounder. Not until 2026.
Boy. I mean, I think that 10 game mark is a good estimation. I would maybe stretch it to 15 games is when I would try to shake things up. Like, suppose we start like I don't know, 6-9 or something, right? I think in that at that point, I would reevaluate what's going on, what's not working. It's not that bad, but like it's like you're not the greatest, you're not the worst, so let's tweak some things. We already know what the tweaks are going to be. We already know it's going to be backup guard play. It's going to be getting a third true center. So when guys like Koloko are down, we still have something out there that can protect the rim. Uh, we need a dynamic guard who can break down defenses and create something out of nothing, improvise. Because in a system, what we keep talking about is like everyone has to know what they're doing. But once the defense figures it out, you need someone to create something out of nothing and just give you something, right? And yeah, so what I would do, I would target all those teams that have multiple guards, and I would package expiring contracts, whether it's Thad, Otto, just the end the bench guys, maybe even Malachi, and I would try and get one of those guys. Maybe if it's even if it's TJ McConnell, if it's Brogdon, if it's Sexton, you know, if you want to get ambitious and try and get Terry Rozier, like something, some type of dynamic guard that can bring a little bit more juice off the bench for us.
Yeah, for me, at this current outlook, they look like a rebuilding team, whether we want it or not. You know what I mean?
Are
But
you rebuilding and have continuity? Eh? Sorry. That's the worst.
besides things we can.
Stealth build.
It's what's going on behind the scenes, fellas. We don't know what's going on. No, but it's frustrating because this team could be better. We have the talent. And there are going to be some growing pains, but to Mac's point and to your point, Kenyon, as well, it's like we should not be losing the games that we're losing, even if we are rebuilding or not rebuilding, or developing. Sorry, now I'm stuck in rebuild mode. I don't really think this front office can tolerate a rebuild. I really don't think they're capable of doing it. I especially don't think this fan base is patient enough to tolerate a full rebuild. Not because we're unruly
They
fans.
think they are. Some people think that they are. They don't know. I'm like, it could easily be the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
They don't want this. Yeah.
No. It's they're delaying the inevitable for a reason. You know what I mean? It's a shame because when the draft picks have hit, we've gotten OG, Pascal, even the undrafted players like a Fred. We've hit on all those things, and it's just kind of see all that squander away or see that talent walk out the door for nothing. It's very discouraging. But to look at this team currently, get me a shot creating guard. That's what we need. Whether it's coming off the bench or in the starting lineup, we just need some sort of shot creation. It's somebody that's willing to make something out of nothing, because we've seen a lot of possessions where the 0.5 second offense isn't really working, and it's because of all those limitations that we've outlined. We see them struggling to create that space. We saw like there was a possession yesterday where I believe either OG or maybe there might have been a pick and roll with Dennis and Jakob, and Scotty and Pascal like were existing in the same space. Like Scotty was going to cut and Pascal was cutting across the court, and they kind of like grazed each other. And it's like that's high school stuff. You know what I mean? Like you guys have been doing this at a professional level and at a high level for quite some time. Like those kind of things shouldn't happen. But if you're existing in the same space, those things are going to be more common, and we've seen it happen already. But get me a shot creating guard. Capitalize on this team. I think that's the only option right now. Get these players the appropriate help with the appropriate skill set. If you have to flip players together. Sorry,
who do you think they should get? Sorry,
Terry Rozier. To me, it's a no-brainer. Get Terry Rozier to like imagine starting Terry Rozier, and then you have to deal with Dennis Schroeder coming off the bench. Like,
is he a good? So is he a good initiator of the offense? Because that's what I'm concerned about with Terry. Does he become scary Terry?
You can't initiate something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean that's true.
Right? But at least Terry can make something happen. Right? We don't have that guy that can make something happen. And there's a reason why they call him Scary Terry for a reason. Because he's a bucket getter. And when he gets going, when he's healthy, he's a problem. And that's what we're missing. We're missing that, I'm gonna seal for Pat Bev. We need that dog, and I think Terry Rozier would bring that dog mentality.
And Mac,
and to add to that, sorry.
I was going to ask that, who you want.
Oh yeah, Terry would make a lot of sense.
Okay.
And the thing with Terry, he can score on the perimeter. He can break down defenses, and I think he's in the 100th percentile in rim attempts for guards.
Yeah,
he's the best.
What is his conversion rate? Do you know offhand, or if you don't, I mean, I don't
offhand,
put you on the spot.
I mean, 43% of his shots are at the rim, and he makes 59% of them.
Okay, that's not bad for a guard. That's not bad at all.
He's 6'1", 6'2".
Yeah.
And maybe the price for him would be you're gonna have to give up a first round pick. That's the problem there.
Oh.
If you're trying to make a minor tweak, yeah,
brother,
they're not gonna hand him over to you. Yeah.
That's what we do. We give away first round picks, man.
We don't have any to give, though, man.
It's Halloween, man. Just what does it matter?
We're looking at 2028 first rounders at this point. If we're gonna be starting to, hand them out like trick or treats.
or an honorable mention. He's not really a shot creating guard, but he's a guard that can hit shots. I almost said God, but no, he's not a god. But he I guess you could classify a point guard or in this case a shooting guard. Buddy Hield.
Yeah, I mean, I think wouldn't be bad.
Right? I think Buddy Hield would be an interesting pick. Somebody that or interesting.
That's another expiring though.
Well, we seem to do well with expiring, right? We seem to do well by managing. So what's another, brother?
He's like, you'll fit right in, man.
You'll fit right in. You're playing for a job. Opportunities will be inconsistent. You're a Toronto Raptor.
They're going to change the Toronto Raptors to rent a player. All these one-year deals.
Oh my goodness, with a player option.
But we just need that kind of dynamic, right? We need something different. Let's call it what it is. We just need. You guys watch
Big Brother, by the way?
I watched the first two seasons. Okay. I get it.
So when they pick for people to play in the different competitions, they stick their hand into the box and they pull out a name. It feels like it feels like that with contracts. Oh yeah, well, 2 years. Yeah, that sounds good. How's that for you? Player
option.
Yeah, exactly. So hey, actually, there's a couple more chips, and here you go. Just chuck it on the table. Geez. I thought we had cap gurus, but that's a whole other discussion for another day. We will discuss the front office people on Basketball Rewind, but before we get to a close, I'll just say my the people that I would choose. I would want to go younger. And then I have one final thing to do with rookies, because last time you were here, we talked about rookies. I would say I want to go younger. I'm interested in one of the Orlando guards. I would try to find a way to get two of them. I would try to find a way to get Gary Harris, who's a little bit older, a little bit more mature, on an expiring, sure, fits in, but also Jalen Suggs as well. I think that combination would be interesting, because that would provide, I'll tell you, no offense to Flynn, but it'd be an upgrade on those Flynn minutes for sure. And he seems to be doing well this year, and he can defend, and he can do a lot, and he has that athletic juice to get to the rim for sure. Has had a tough go at it injury wise. The other one would be dependent on if the Knicks later on throughout the season feel like they are one piece away. This would be almost like an OG trade, but I'd be trying to get Emmanuel quickly. And
yep, I would love quickly. I thought that we had an opportunity to get him, and we all know what was needed to get him, and it didn't happen. I was incredibly disappointed, but he would give that juice.
Or Nemhard even. Like that's the type I want someone who's young with not too young, not a project player, but young with skills who can be an impact player. You might lose some by losing an OG for example, but okay, we're third in defense. We're 30th in offense. Like
familiar territory, yay!
Crazy.
So, with that being said, the final question that I have is about rookies. Have you guys watched any rookies? What, I guess really quick hitter questions is, beyond Wemby, because Wemby is not a real person. I refuse to believe that. Have you watched any of the rookies? Have you enjoyed any of that? And then also your league pass team beyond the Raptors is Basketball Rewind. So is there any team that you're loosely watching throughout the season?
Well, OKC is my little mistress team. I think that would be the best league pass. And as far as rookies go, Asar Thompson is really locked in, and he fits that system really well with the Detroit Pistons. Monty Williams, I don't know if they're going to let him out that starting lineup once they get healthy. I don't know, because he fits so well. The defense has been amazing. The versatility, the playmaking, the pushing on the break. He has the thing with him, he has the IQ and he has the athleticism to back it up. That's hard to find. Usually you get a prospect who has all the athletic tools and you got to kind of like groom him into his mentality, and there's some that have the mentality but they're not athletically gifted. He's right in that middle ground, and I think he's gonna have it's easy movements, right? He's very easy, creative, crafty. Man, can you imagine him on this team, the Raptors team, playing defense for us, running out in the break? I know he can't shoot, but
hey man, he'd fit right in.
He fit right in.
Yeah, he'll fit right in. So.
But before I answer that, the Jakob.
Sorry,
that's okay. Okay,
can't shoot. Come on in.
Come on in. Hey, listen.
Just a bus.
Put me on a 6-figure deal. Play me like 5 minutes a game. I could shoot like 2 air balls if need be.
6-figure deal. You're going down now. You're like, hey, man.
Yeah. I'll hit 1 3 a game.
Season tickets.
We went all in. It cost us a draft pick. He has not been playing well. How are we feeling knowing that it could have been Wemby, it could have been Asar Thompson, or at least one of the Thompson twins? Like, I'm not saying that everything falls on Yak's shoulders. He's only doing what he can. But Masai called him a top 10 center. He's getting paid like a top 10 center, and unfortunately, he's not looking like a top 10 center right now. And honestly, I could see a situation where we might be flipping him for assets, for somebody younger, maybe on a cheaper deal.
But for what? Like, we just signed him. That's a bad look. You're gonna have to give up assets to get rid of him if you do that.
I know, but
trick or treat.
Masai loves to do that, man. But it's so crazy to even ponder that. But like, what do you guys think? I guess is a short question. What do you guys think of the Jakob deal right now?
I'll let Matt go first.
Yeah, it doesn't. Right now, it doesn't look good. Right now,
that
it doesn't look good. Yeah, it's tough because we know what he can be and what we know. We kind of understand what their vision was, but at the same time, their vision wasn't really focusing on their top players in Scotty and Pascal Siakam. Their vision was just finding a center who they like as a person and who can give us something on the court. It wasn't like a, what's the word? It wasn't like to make a cohesive unit. It was just to bring in the players that you like and see what happens. And $20 million a year for someone who's struggling to get defensive rebounds and is getting bodied by the other good centers in the league, it doesn't seem like a good investment.
Mac, you can't even play him for
right now,
like over 25 minutes.
That could. Yeah, and in the fourth quarters, he's not even in the games because he can't hit free throws. So it's like, I don't know, man.
here are my thoughts. In a vacuum, and I said it then, and I'll say it now. In a vacuum, you could justify every single one of the moves that Masai's made. The problem is that it's like someone who goes to like the flea market to go pick up a puzzle, but then they're picking up a puzzle by reaching into a bin and grabbing random pieces. The pieces may not necessarily fit.
Mhm.
What flea market are you going to, man? That sounds awful.
It's cheap, man. It's a bargain bin, okay? But that's part of the fun.
Making a puzzle that's half bird, half squirrel.
Yeah, that is some chew marks.
But somehow
on it
they
and stuff.
fit.
Yeah, just dust it. Oh, it's good. But yeah, I mean, I think the problem with the yak thing is that, like, even to your point, even if you didn't get yak, or even if you did get yak, you found out that there were options to get Portland's pick, even at the deadline for OG. We could have got yak and had 2 picks. like we didn't even get a trade exception for Fred VanVleet. Okay,
Yeah,
Dude.
like,
Dylan Brooks got a trade exception.
I was gonna say Dylan Brooks.
I'm not trying to shade the man, okay? He brought home hardware for Team Canada, but we didn't even get a trade exception for Fred VanVleet, okay? Think about that for a second.
And sorry, before you continue, I'll just say this real quick. It would have been so hilarious if we traded for Pirtle, traded our pick, and then he re-signed with San Antonio. Because in his words, San Antonio and Toronto were the top two. Can you imagine the heist that would have been? I just wanted to say that real quick.
I would say that's very typical Toronto Raptors. Like that would happen to us. You know what I mean?
Didn't we effectively do that a couple years ago when we signed Jared Sullinger, trade him for PJ Tucker with picks, and then PJ Tucker didn't come back? It's the same type of thing. I'm sorry to bring up bad memories. You guys are like, man, I forgot about that one. It's like, yeah. And guess who was that?
Yeah.
That was Masai. So,
man, we're down bad when we can't even hold PJ Tucker, and Malcolm Brogdon doesn't even want to come here.
I'm telling you, man. Like, so
Schroeder the first time. Schroeder the first time we tried to get Schroeder too, and he didn't want to come before. And then we got Darko.
You see, this is part of the problem. You have a guy. You say, okay, Thad Young. He says, I've been looking for Thad for 10 years. Like, he is almost out of the league. He's played. What is it? Year 16? He's almost at LeBron level of playing time. Okay, think about that. That is a lot of years and mileage on that man's body. And kudos to him. But I'm just saying, like, so to me, I look at those 2 deals. I collect them up, and you hear about Masai wanted Miles Turner, but then, as Bobby said, they waited too long, and the pick decreased. If you have a player that you like, be a dog with a bone, just go get the person. Why wait 3 years for the perfect little situation where the guy can maybe come? Like, at this point, we're going to be waiting until Shea is in a retirement home. Okay, and maybe he might come. To coach.
No, man,
I have hope for Shaden Sharp.
My hope is hanging on by a thread, man. My hope is hanging on by a thread.
How's that kitten hanging on the tree?
Oh, remember the last time I said that? Yeah, we're down to the last paw, brother. That's what we're doing. We're one paw in it right now. I'm ready to go down, man. No, I'm just kidding. Like, it's frustrating because we know this team could be better. Like, I think that's what we're really saying without really saying it, is that this team could be better, and we know this. And it's like Masai has this great genius, this great lore behind him, this aura that he's this wizard of management, and we're not seeing that wizardry. We're just seeing fumbling. We're seeing hesitancy. We're seeing reluctance, and it's like, at what point? Like, remember, he said we want to win, and that's the goal at the end of the day. are you putting these guys in the best position to be successful? Are you getting the right players to be successful as well? And we're teetering here. But like I said, it's like you have Scotty, you have Grady now, you have Precious, you have Coloco, and you know, to an extent like Jalen McDaniels, but like Jalen McDaniels and Dennis Schroeder, if you're depending on mid-level exception guys or like, you know, those mid guys to send you over the top, then you're destined to lose, right? And we just haven't seen the fruitful returns, and in my humble opinion, we just haven't seen that effort yet to put these guys in a position to be successful. And I have a theory that part of the reason why we're seeing this hesitancy is like Masai is afraid to look bad on a deal.
That's 100% part of it. I
You
mean,
know?
think about it. By this, okay, if you think about the chances that we've had to trade OG Anunoby for some dude, okay, KD, we found out that Danny Ainge liked OG and GTJ, so that's Mitchell. Now Dame, we gave them a 2K package, okay? It's equivalent of a 2K package. You go on 2K, you turn on trade override, and you snatch that. Okay, that's what we did, and you expect it, and it's like you compare that to the package that they got. Of course, if you were Portland, would you take that package? By comparison, probably not. So I mean, OG better be at this point a Hall of Fame player because we at this point two top 75 guys that you haven't traded him for.
Yeah, I agree, man.
And Shaden Sharp, who gave him the business last time. But yeah, just saying, just putting that out there. I'm not, this is not me trying to shade OG. I'm just saying, like, it's an example of like, are we overvaluing every single dude who steps? And sometimes are you overvaluing the wrong guy? You gotta have a guy that at least says he wants to stay.
Yep. Yep. And I mean, like thinking about it from their perspective, I know I talked about salary, but look at it from the way that they want to play and the way that they aspire to play. Like you're upsetting two guys that you weren't willing to trade with the current play or the current state of this team.
3 if you include Gary, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and you know what? Like, it could not happen to like worse people. Like the Raptors have prided themselves on getting and drafting character guys and trading for character guys and character players, obviously. And OG has been professional. Gary has been the ultimate professional, and Pascal has been, you know, putting in the work, getting better every single season, and literally shouldering the load, taking the brunt of the brunt of the blame, you know, especially, you know, now that Fred is not here, like everything is going to be zeroing in on him, and it's like, why wouldn't you want to take care of those players? You know, why wouldn't you want to put them in a more favorable situation? It's an interesting, and that's a nice way of putting it. It's an interesting situation, but it's one of those things like everything can hit and this team would look great, or everything can blow up by the end of this season, and we're not going to have the assets to survive a rebuild. You might be giving away players so you can recoup some of those draft assets, and it's like, man, as you go down the line, it gets more and more upsetting.
Okay, we got to end it on a good note, okay?
Okay, yes. So with all that being
let's
said,
talk about Grady. Let's talk about Grady.
wait. I want to give my teams. I like
OKC. Right.
Yeah, I know. We totally went in a completely different direction. I apologize, but OKC is a fun team to watch. That is my league pass team, and I've been peeping Indiana. I like Indiana. I like what they got going on there. They kind of reinvented themselves. But you know, to your point of getting Andrew Nemhard, you know, we could have had him if we didn't do that deal. Just say it, you know. But yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But you know, revisiting Raptors history is very disappointing. But no, like I think those teams have been pretty fun, and
you guys are just non-believers. You just don't believe in the special mind of Masai.
It's not that I don't believe. I'm just questioning his mind right now. Like, are you good? Like, do we need to do a wellness check? Like what are you trying to accomplish, bud? Let's talk it out. But I'm not gonna lie. I've been peeping Houston as well. I'm just very intrigued by that team in a weird way. Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Fred, like they just like they're the worst. They're the mismatched version, like that those puzzle pieces in the bargain bin, just trying to piecing everything together and seeing what you end up and you get like a squirrel bird. Like I feel like that's what's gonna happen. But I peeped them out and Freddie hasn't looked good, but I think there's an adjustment period that we're seeing. But yeah, that's where I'm at right now.
I haven't followed Houston. Are they playing Tari Eason? I haven't been following them.
It's been inconsistent. Like that's what I'm saying. Like overall, their play has been inconsistent. Like even Eamon Thompson's not really getting.
Because they have so many forwards.
Yeah, like it's hard. Like I think they also are struggling with an identity crisis. But I'm interested. I'm interested, and I think partially it's because I have a bet that they're going to hit the over on their wins. But that's a completely different conversation.
Sponsored by Bet Rivers. No.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, it's actually there's a couple teams. I've been watching a little bit of Washington. I know that's a surprise one, but I really am interested in Bilal Coulibaly and his growth as a player. Milwaukee, I find really interesting just because I really like Giannis as a player. I have a secret West team that I'm not going to say on this podcast, but
Lakers.
no, it's no. No, it's absolutely not. It is not the Lakers, people. I can confirm that it is not the Lakers. And the team is not yeah, no, they're not a California team. So but I will say one team that I am watching, which is obviously the Mavs, because I'm very interested because they're a well-constructed team this year, but also there's always a looming like, can they keep it together mentally for 82 games? So it's just a little bit of interest there. Parting shots.
And Luca helps, right?
Yeah. Well, Luca
helps.
but Luca's not as interesting because he's going to be good. You know what I mean? Like in that sense, like it's interesting because I want to see how he is, but that's not like the mystique of like I want to see like, is Kyrie gonna be happy?
Somebody replied to one of my tweets the other day. I think it was a couple days ago, and
or was it Mike Leonard?
They sent me a. Sorry.
No,
it was
Burners.
I forgot his name. I think, but he said he sent me a trade of Pascal going to the Mavericks, and I don't know. I think it was Kleber, and right there I said no in my head, but I the fit for Pascal and the Mavericks, I think would be really good for him in his career. I don't know how much they would give up for him, but I think I like that look with Pascal, with Luca and Kyrie on the perimeter. Good luck guarding that team. So I think that would be a good look. I just want to say, he brought up Mavericks, and I remember that tweet. So yeah,
for sure. I'll give you my opinion after, but I do have thoughts on it, and I know Beyond has thoughts because he's a Mavericks fan. We've definitely talked about a couple Mavericks trades, but yeah. But with that being said, it's Basketball Rewind. Like, comment, and subscribe down below, as well as, like I said, if you guys want to plug yourselves, Mac, the man they call Mac, I should say.
Oh yes, so I've been running off the screen podcast. This year I'm going to be posting Monday mornings, and going to be having some creative segments that I'm going to be introducing in the coming weeks. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Should be a fun year.
Absolutely. Curly, live by the three.
Appreciate you bringing us on, man. It's always a blast. You know, we tend to trail off a little bit, but then we come right back. It's just what we do, you know. So I appreciate you, Mac, as always. In terms of Live by the Three, you know, the reaction pods are back. Haven't, you know, it's been emotionally draining for the most part to be doing the reaction pods as of yet when you revisit the game. But you know, like I said, there's a lot of interesting storylines, and you're just hoping that those positives definitely come out of these negatives. But yeah, you know, check me out. Give me a follow on Twitter at Live by the 03. You can find the Live by the 3 Raptors podcast on all streaming platforms. I think I might tweak with some video this season. I haven't really decided yet, but yeah, a lot of interesting stuff, a lot of interesting topics, and you know, the one thing that the NBA does not lack is storyline. So if there's something interesting going on, we're gonna be talking about it at Live by the 3.
Absolutely. So check those guys out. Again, like, comment, and subscribe to all. Rate and review them because you can't do that for me on YouTube. And with that being said, it's been a good one. So, you know, that's been it. And take care. I guess it's Halloween, so by the time this comes out, it won't matter as much. But either way, please be safe, people. So, yeah, take care and peace.
Peace.